All right, I've got a whole bunch of questions that I'm going to ask, but I think before we do that, we've just a little bit of a preface of what we did and where we went, and then we're going to ask a few questions of these guys. This is for them. For most of you who don't know, these guys, not all of them are upfront people, and this is very nerve-wracking for some. So just be gracious, be kind, and then at the end of the service, go up and tell them what a great job they did. All right, because this is not an easy thing sometimes to speak in public, and especially with all you people. And you're all very beautiful, but sometimes intimidating. So just everybody breathe. It's good. But we had an awesome time. We spent. I'm going to sort of start with the first question of the day. Was how long did it take us from leaving the church to actually arriving at our accommodation in Kampala? Does anyone know the answer to that question? Yeah, good. 7 years. It wasn't quite. Andrew should know how to operate the microphone.
I know how to work these.
I think it was 36 hours.
36 hours to get there, and then probably even longer to get home because we did have a stopover in Doha. So 56 hours to get home. So it was a bit of a trek and a journey, and we had a lot of travel in between, but we were absolutely blessed. So I'm just going to do a quick rundown of what we did through the 2 weeks, and then I'm going to ask the questions of the team and then get them to chime in and then see. We've got a fair bit of time left in the service, so there might be some opportunities for people to be able to ask questions of the team on the spot, put them on the spot, and have some fun. But so we arrived in Kampala on the Friday evening. On Saturday, we went to see. We ran into that, and for me, I've already seen that before. Those kids dancing and welcoming. They genuinely love to see you there. We saw that. We got to do a community walk, which was super impacting, going into people's homes. And then Sunday we had church, which just blew all of our minds, I think. Then on Sunday we also fed like 700 plus people and spent some time with some of the team and got to hear stories of people who graduated. And then back on Monday, more work in the schools, doing work on the project. I think pretty much everybody at some stage got their hands dirty. Now, I want to talk about the work that we did for a second. We did some work. We did slow the team down. That was actually there to work, but because we came over there to do some work and we had a lot of fun doing that, slinging mud, getting dirty. And then we spent a couple of days in Kampala giving out all of the wonderful blankets and stuff to the mums, and that was powerful, seeing people get saved in those instances. And then we travelled up to the township of Abim. And that's probably, I think, where everyone broke, was in Abim. And this is one of the villages that's in the region of Abim where we stayed. And you can see that that's actually the conditions that people, probably the majority of the people in the area live in similar situations and circumstances to that. Worked in the schools there and did a few things. All right, I'm going to get to some questions right now. And some of these are going to be serious questions. Some of these are going to be funny questions. And then we've also got some awards for everybody. Could I please have that envelope, please? Thank you, Pastor Rachel. There's an envelope with awards. Yes, they're very fancy. Okay, so this is the first question, and we did ask people from the congregation to submit questions on Facebook, and we've done that. So this is the first question from one of our, and this is going to be to anyone who wants to answer, can just quickly jump in. What surprised you most about your trip? Something you encountered, travel, people, etc. What surprised you most?
That little clip of the kids that you saw, if you've ever seen an overweight, greying white man with a whole heap of kids that just have rhythm just bred into them, and me standing there going, oh. It's very intimidating.
Yeah.
That surprised
Mick, you had something?
Yeah, the attitude of the people with nothing and their generosity was just astounding. That just blew me away.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so this is from Cynthia. Wonderful question from Cynthia. Were the items that the ladies made for them, were they sufficient? Were the sizes right? Anything else that they would have preferred? I think they were blown away.
When we gave out the gifts to the young mums, they had 70 people who registered and 120 women turned up.
Yeah.
They had to turn away 50 women and say, come back next time when we have more.
Yeah. So just on that, Ruth, you were so all of the guys got excluded from that moment. We got sent down the street in a slum to buy Rolexes, not watches. Rolex is a flatbread with egg. We've all got photos of how sanitary it was. But we got barred from being in that. It was a ladies only event. And so, Ruth, I understand that there was a number of women who came to that who weren't Christians who ended up giving their lives to Jesus. Can one of you ladies talk a little bit about that?
Ruth and I both had opportunity at that time to share with the women as well. So it wasn't just come and have a handout. It was a service that we shared with, and we had some praise and worship and some time with the Lord. We were asked sort of last minute to share the night before, and I know that I took to the Lord like, what do I share? And it really challenged me because God had me share on their worth as daughters of the King, which seems like a really easy thing in our Western world to share on, but when you're sharing with mums in slums, single mums with babies that have nothing, their children die, they don't have food, they don't have basic necessities a lot of the time, and God wanted me to tell them that he loved them just the same as he loves us. It challenged my understanding of my relationship with God and the expectations that I have, because these mums just come with nothing and they receive everything and they're so grateful, and their relationship with God isn't dependent on what they receive from him in an earthly, physical manner. And it really shook all of us, I think. And for them to receive their gifts, so the gifts were bagged up, so all the little bags that were made, in each of those there was a light blanket, a heavier blanket, a beanie, whatever. So they were little packs that went out. And although the whole time was not about what you got physically, they were just so blessed, so blessed. The dresses we took up to a BIM when we went up to the country town, where they really, things change up there. They're living in mud huts and it's just a really poor place in the physical. And so we were able to spend time, the class came in and we were able to change the girls into their dresses, and there's some photos I think that we've probably all posted of the girls in their new dresses, and we were taking off tattered clothes and putting on these beautiful dresses, and the smiles on their faces, the gratitude in their hearts. Like, you understand from home these things, but you don't understand until you're there. And so each of the gifts and things that were made were just received with such gratefulness. Yeah.
Awesome. I think we had a bit of a chat before, some of us in the team, and said we're just going to hand the microphone to Lisa and just let her talk. Because it got in her skin. And if you've seen any of Lisa's videos from on the social media, so if you haven't watched, seen the photos and the videos and the updates, please jump onto our Facebook group and our Facebook page, Instagram. They're all on there as reels, and you can actually get the individual stories that we got everyone to share. Those things were powerful. Leith, what was your highlight from the trip?
Well, the highlight, it's pretty hard to put into words really, because we experienced so much from the day we hit the ground to the day we left. The highlight, I suppose, like, what's your name again? What's his name? There was a bit of that going on. What's his name? Remember? What's his name?
Yeah, Pastor What's His Name?
What's his name?
Yeah. Thanks, John.
We met so many people. What's his name over here says about the kids. The kids were, they got hardly anything, yet they're so darn happy. Yeah. Like, it just put it all in perspective. I mean, we've got such a way of life in Horsham here that you can't even put it into perspective. Potholes. I'll never complain about the potholes on the Western Highway. Fair dinkum. I was telling some of the blokes I've seen during the week, in fact I was sharing this at the Pie Day on Friday, I said, look, there was a pothole that was so deep that had flashing lights at the bottom of it, and there was 3 semi-trailers parked down there getting a steak sandwich. Fair dinkum. I tell you what, you ain't seen nothing like it. In fact, I don't think there's a single road in Australia that you could even compare it with. So some roads, the roads in the cities weren't so bad, but as soon as you got out of town, it was just dirt roads everywhere. I don't know so much whether I had a highlight, but I certainly had an experience. Going to a BIM. Boy, oh boy, that was an eye-opener. In fact, we got set up a bit, actually. I'll just... Dougie, our tour guide captain, I called him. He was a character. Talk about he was an older prankster. When we went up there, I had a yarn to him on the bus. I said, "What's our accommodation going to be like, mate?" He goes, "Oh, not real flash." He said, "You're going to be staying in a bark, in one of them mud huts, like one of them." I go, "Yeah, that'll work. Yeah." He said, "On a grass mat." I go, "Ooh, yeah, I can do an overnighter on that. That'll be fine." He said, "But you got to watch out for the snakes." And I'm going, "Really?" "Oh," he said, "these big snakes come crawling through during the night." He said, "They won't hurt you." I'm going, "Mate, it ain't happening." No way. I was quite relieved when we got up there, when we stayed in a place that was half decent accommodation, no snakes. But at a BIM, the money that we put towards, there was extra money that went towards some of the buildings up that we painted. But also, we went into the boys' dorms. The girls' dorms had just been all revamped, so they had been sleeping 2 to a bed and a set of bunks, and wasn't pretty. But when the girls' dorms had been revamped, they were pretty. They had a feminine touch, I suppose. But the guys, fair dinkum, I walked into the boys' dorms. I spent about 3 seconds in there and walked straight out and burst into tears. I guess that had a big impact on me, because those boys don't deserve to live like that. They're up there at school, and they're in Uganda. If you're at school because you want to be there, not because you're told to be there. Yeah. So these kids are at school because they want to be there. So their heart's in the right spot to start off with. But I walked into that building, and look, there was a room there that had over 100 boys in it, sleeping on triple bunks, 3 high, in a room that's no bigger than our church cafeteria out there, and 1 window, 1 door, no ventilation. You can imagine what that's like at 3 o'clock in the morning with 110 blokes, all 7, well, they were 15, weren't they? Locked at night. You can imagine, what 17-year-old boys are like. Crops. Anyway, that was truly jolly ordinary, I tell you. And I'm just thinking, these boys don't deserve to live like this. I said to Russ and I know why I come. It wasn't until that point in time that Andrew asked me to come along, and I said, yep, no worries, I'll go. And it wasn't until weeks after I thought, geez, what have I put myself into here? And it wasn't until that point in time that I realised why I was there. We met some of those boys. They're great young fellas, But walked out of there to make an impact on those guys' lives, because they're the young fellas that are going to change the nation. There's 50 million people live in Uganda, in a size of a country that's no bigger than Victoria, and 40% is covered with water. So it's only 60% the size of Victoria, and 50% of the population's under 15. You just put that into perspective. We get those kids into school and teach them what the rights and wrongs and it's going to change Uganda. Yeah. So it's not only just teaching them, but housing them and treating them with dignity. Yeah. So I've been speaking to Russ since. I haven't shared this with Andrew, but I've been speaking to Russ since, and then he's got drawings happening and costings on that boys' dorm. I don't care what anyone else does, but I'm going to go about raising the money to make that happen.
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's so good. Excellent. And that's the thing, is that, look, we invested heavily as a church, and in that, we need to tackle things a little bit differently. And I think we can do that through leveraging business partnerships and getting people on board with the vision of, they're not just changing one life, they're actually changing a nation. While we're on the topic of a BIM, Kim, tell us what you got to do in a BIM.
I had the absolute privilege of sharing with a couple of hundred young people between the ages of 12 and 24-ish, because oftentimes in Uganda, if you can't pay the term, you just don't go to school. And so you might not be able to afford a year's worth of schooling, and so you still have to do that year of schooling, but you're a year older. And sometimes that turns into the young people being 24 before they graduate. It was a really powerful experience for me as a young person who's, still growing and still walking and still in Bible college and learning a lot about, what it means to be a young woman of God, and having the chance to share with these young people about their value and their identity and how much they're loved. I don't know how much, because I didn't get a chance to talk to them after, but I don't know how much they were impacted by it. But I know that for myself, even just having experienced what I had in the prior week and then coming and seeing 200 young people there, there's a school of 1,600 young people, and seeing the dormitories, seeing their living conditions, and some of them probably aren't saved, most of them probably wouldn't be saved, but being able to share that there is actually a purpose and there is a love there for them, that they don't have to feel bound by their circumstances, and the focus that they had on, well, you spoke as well, the focus of these young people when somebody was speaking was so intense. Like they were hungry after what God was wanting to speak to them about, and hungry after knowing more, and hungry after being closer to God. And I think that really challenged me. I shared a little bit about that in the Instagram reel, but it was really powerful.
Yeah, awesome. Luke?
Kim, I know you said you didn't get a chance to see or talk to any of them afterwards, but from someone that was actually watching that, every single girl in that place, eyes that were glued to you and did not leave, to the point that a chicken walked across the front of the stage and they still didn't break eye contact with what you were talking about. So yes, without talking to them, yes, it did impact them.
It was, all the girls and then also all the boys as well. We'll get into that later on. But that leads me to my first award, was the International Preacher Award for boldly standing in front of hundreds of teenagers and sharing a powerful message of hope and encouragement. Goes to Kim Hennessy. Well done. Fantastic. Now, some of our awards are humorous. They can't all be serious. That one's one of the serious ones. Some people get a serious one, some people get a joke one, just because I didn't want to make anyone cry. Moving back to Kampala, Denise, I'd like you to tell the story of Schwabula, and then maybe what the impact was. Now, this is our team. Our team are going to brag on Denise for a minute, because Denise got a conviction to actually do something. It didn't cost a lot, but it was something. And I want you to tell everybody about that. And yeah, we're proud of you in that. So know that.
Thank you. So Shaloa was one of the 5 young people that we had one afternoon to tell us what impact or how their lives were changed by being accepted or rescued by Operation Uganda. So there were young people that they may be in the last year of finishing or finished, or even just their first job, finishing universities. So Shalwa just finished design and fashion. So when our ladies heard that she finished design and fashion, obviously our minds went to dresses, skirts, shirts, and everything. So Lisa has asked if Jenny thought that, Shilua could actually do something for whoever wanted to have something made. And I was in the office when Jenny came to talk to Pamela to ask if Shilua had a sewing machine. I knew that she didn't because earlier in the afternoon I talked to Shilua's sister. And I've actually asked her specifically what Shilua's plans are. If she's going to open, like a house, fashion house or something where she's going to start making dresses. And he said, no, she hasn't got the money for anything, not even for rent. So she'll just have to start looking for work first and slowly get the money up. So Jenny's discussion with Pamela, it resulted that she didn't have a sewing machine. And Jenny suggested that they take $200 out of the Operation Uganda money to help her as being as a startup to buy the machine. That was about the third day or fourth day of us being in there after what I saw and experienced in there. There was no way that I was going to spend the $500 that I put aside to buy jewelry from Doha. There was no way that I'm going to let that one pass without actually contributing towards this young girl's, startup and livelihood. So I said, and why should Operation Uganda use those $200 when I could have? So I said to Jenny that I will take care of that, but I like to have a chat with her because I thought $200 machine in Australia, I know it doesn't buy you a very good machine, and I didn't want her to have to replace it in a couple of years' time. So I said, look, I can put up to $500, just buy her the best machine that it can be in there. She doesn't have to replace it soon. That was a desire with a thought of a Westerner. Jenny, very wise, she looks at me and says, Denise, she will have nothing to do with that machine if the power gets cut. So all she needs is a $200 machine, a pedal machine that she can work through any conditions that is thrown at her. So, so we left it to that. Then everybody got excited, and she ended up doing 11 pieces. Yeah.
So good. That was lovely. And that was one of the just many stories of, our team has been able to make a difference through a conviction of, hey, how can we do something small? The exchange rate over there is 2,500 shillings to $1. So putting things in context for that, to buy a bottle of water is 1,000 shillings, so it's about 40 cents. To buy a soft drink is about 2,000 shillings, 80 cents. To go down the street and buy a hat was like $4. And being able to contribute like 200 Australian into someone's business startup is actually making such a huge difference. And we didn't as a team get together and have a discussion. It wasn't just going, oh, should we do this or can I do that? And there was many of these kind of conversations that came along because everyone sort of submitted to, hey, Pastor Andrew, should we do this? Can we do that? And we're saying, hey, if Russ and Jen think it's a good idea, let's do that. And there were so many instances where we were able to be a real blessing. So Denise, actually, we were proud of you for taking the first step, and everybody else jumped on board and going, I'm getting something made, and you're still waiting.
Yes, I'm still waiting for her, for mine to be readjusted. It wasn't enough time to.
Yeah.
So, if any sister in church is a seamstress, please see me afterwards because I need that to be altered.
Awesome. And I'm going to give out a second award now because there's something else about Denise that I don't know if you know this about Denise, and you can hold on to those. Thank you very much, Kim. You already got your award. Don't flick through them all now. Denise is a scientist. She's a very smart individual, but she is very inquisitive. She's always wanting to know and understand more. So Denise gets the Inquisitive Mind Award for the most number of questions asked during the trip. And I could probably also say to that, the most number of, Pastor Andrew, There was a lot of those that came throughout the trip. But hey, it was an awesome moment. Mick, I want to just jump down to you because you had a moment that we can talk about from in our first day in Kampala, where you went to the house of a Muslim woman, and it was something special for her son. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I do want to talk about that. But firstly, it was heartbreaking, heartwarming and heartbreaking. So there was 4 of us from the Operation Uganda team, 2 of the slums, go and visit people women or families that were associated with the church. And they're so humble. It was a room maybe 3 metres by 3 metres square or something, and Mum and the couple of kids lived in that room. No running water. There was a dodgy PowerPoint. You touched the veranda pole and you got a zap off it.
Mick was constantly running into health and safety issues, and he was very concerned.
Yeah, was very concerned. However, it was one of the kids' 4th birthday, 5th birthday, and the mother spent 1,000 shillings on a cupcake for his birthday, and to see his eyes light up like you would not believe it. It's like he'd just been given a Ferrari. It was just so heartwarming that he had 2 little lollipops. It was just a little cupcake. 1,000 shillings, is that about a quarter of a week's wage or something? Oh, I'm not sure. But anyway, it was a lot of money spent on this one little cake. And they had the 2 lollipops. But the generosity of the family, they cut it like you cut a big birthday cake. They cut it like that and cut it into slices and offered it to all of us that were there. And so we had a piece of cake, and then the boy took what was left, and his sister got one of the other lollipops, but he was so appreciative of whatever was left. He took outside, and he just thought that was it in a bit. He just thought that was just amazing. And that was one of the moments that just really put things into perspective. As Andrew said before, where your treasure is where your heart is. And it just made me contemplate where my treasure is, and now a piece of me is back in Uganda. So
yeah, beautiful. There's another part to you can clap that. That's good. There's another part to that story that is equally amazing. Is that we sat, and it was Mick and Ruth and I, and you were there too, of course. Yeah, sorry, I forgot we had 4 in our group. It was 2 groups of 3 and 1 group of 4. And this woman that they'd reached out to, because the Operation Uganda don't care about what Christianity, whether you're Christian or whether you're Muslim or whether you're whatever, it doesn't matter. But this lady was a Muslim lady. And she said this one thing to us as we're sitting there before they gave out the birthday cake. And they said that I'm hoping to one day become a born-again believer in Jesus because, I'm praying for the faith to do that. And we sat there and we let that slide for a second. And we had cake. And then I said, I actually need to ask a question. Are you ready now to receive Jesus? And she said this interesting reply, which in the local culture was, for us, she said, it's okay. I'm like, oh, well, that's okay, fine, no worries, we'll just move on. Because I thought it meant she wasn't ready. No, but it's okay meant yes. I think I'm ready now. And we were able to sit there in that room and pray with her and pray over her to lead her into a relationship with Jesus in her house in a slum. And it was such a beautiful moment. Ruth?
In that situation, it was really funny because she said it's okay, and the 2 workers from Operation Uganda clapped. And I'm looking and thinking, yeah, because with us it would mean, just leave
it's all
it.
good.
Yeah. And I asked one of them, and they said, yes, she means that she's giving her heart to the Lord. And it
Awesome.
was just
Awesome.
amazing.
So good. It was an amazing moment. And just on our first day to experience that was great. I've got another award I need to give, and this one is for Mick. This is the Banana Boat Award for daring the African sun to test out the theory that malaria medication makes you more susceptible to sunburn. and losing. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Hey, I want to change tack a little bit at the moment. Matilda, we haven't heard from you yet. That's all right. We're going to keep it fairly light. Tell us about the kids. Tell us about your experience in meeting the children and what that meant for you. Because you were painting, I mean, in Kampala you met and played with the kids and you did lots of activities, but in a BIM you were left outside pretty much painting a building by yourself surrounded by children. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, it was just amazing meeting all the kids. It was so beautiful. I did feel like they were critiquing my painting abilities, but yeah, they're just beautiful and they're just welcoming. They've got, I don't know.
And you can say how dangerous it is to just go to a group of children and sit down. What happens?
They pull you down.
Totally swarmed, and you're sort of trying to get out of it with all the touching and the touching your hair and your skin, and it's lovely.
Now, you guys as a family have a sponsor child. Matilda, tell us her name, and this is someone that you decided to sponsor when Russ and Jen came here in February, and then you got to meet her and spend some time. You actually spent a fair bit of time because she wouldn't let you guys go. What was that like, Matilda?
Her name's Angel. It was just beautiful. She was playing on your phone. She loved taking selfies and looking at them all. Yeah, you could probably talk more about that. You spent more time with it.
She was a rat bag.
She has a bit of spunk, which will take her a long way.
Yeah. That's I suppose another part of the trip that I didn't really think about until we got there. Oh, we get to meet Angel. And you see photos and you see all this stuff and you go, oh yeah, you know. And then you meet the kid. There's a personality behind the picture. And yeah, she was a real rat bag, wasn't she? We were sitting in the main meals area a couple of times, and she was in class behind us, and she was actually getting up, coming out to us with the teacher at the door going, and she was like, no, I want to hang out over here, and she's playing on the phone, and I'm like, you've got to go back now.
She met us earlier in the trip and started to understand who we were, and so then we were hers.
But I suppose to put it into perspective, that encounter, because you go over there and you go, well, what can you do as one person? Right. What do? You see all this stuff, you walk along the streets, there's rubbish everywhere, you see people that are in need, and you go, but there's how many? What can you do? And it sort of hit me, I can't remember who said it, whether it was Russ or somebody, or Jen.
I think it was Leith.
Or was it Leith? Starfish? By just helping the one. Yeah. I thought, well, that's our one.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I'm going to jump in here. Members of the Operation Uganda team shared one by one with us. And so one of those girls was Shrobula, who had done the design, and we were able to help out there. But they all shared their journey coming into the program as little ones, because it's been running 19 years now, and where they were. And they're studying to be vets and doctors and lawyers and world changers. What was that? Pilots,
accountants, all sorts of stuff that...
And not only are they succeeding, they're changing not only their world, but their communities. They are the whole team puts back into their immediate community. Like, it's quite amazing. And so we think we know the difference it makes when we sponsor. But as we sat there with Angel, the kids that are taken into the program, she's got 2 brothers as well, and a single mum and a grandma. And the kids that are taken into the program are the most at risk in the situation that they're in the slum. So it's dire. Our $45 a month will see her through her entire schooling.
Yeah.
Up to university. It'll keep her fed, it'll keep her clothed, but so much more because the whole family's a part has been brought in. And so we didn't get to meet Angel's mum. Her grandma brought her to the program each day because her mum was suffering with malaria. Now, the healthcare over there, they have access to the healthcare, but they don't have the money for the prescriptions that they're given. Our support of this family and of our Angel meant that her mum was getting malaria medications. The impact you have, you just don't understand.
Yeah, that's right.
We didn't understand until we were there. And little Angel, this little spunk rat that's 4 and has all this attitude, she's going to be able to become something that poverty and the enemy tried to steal from her.
Yeah.
There's no words for that. And so when we cuddled her and embraced her and hung out with her and had fun with her, we just knew that through us, God was able to change her world.
Yeah, so good.
And so I just really encourage
Yeah.
anyone here that has the ability to sponsor a child and therefore a family. You're changing their life. You're not just, body, soul and spirit. And they're going to be world changers in their worlds and their communities.
Yeah. So
It
good. So good. Excellent. And that just took a serious turn, and I'm going to ruin the mood right now and try and bring it light for a second. I've got another question for Matilda and for Kim. And this was submitted online. What was the final cow dowry count?
You need an explanation behind it.
So all throughout our travels throughout Uganda in the bus, the number of winks, kisses, call-outs to Kim and Matilda from men on the side of the road who were trying to take a wife home was outstanding. Andrew, what about the young man at Murchison Falls?
Oh, man. Can 3 of us just stand here? We're just standing in front of this thing at Murchison Falls trying to take a photo. And this dude just rocks up like that and starts doing that. And I'm like, no, and there was a bit of these ones. I'm like, who's this dude? And and I'm like, this is, that's when the dowry thing started. I think it started at 5 cows because that was the...
I think it ended up at about 50,000 cows or something like that. So we have an award.
I was loaded.
This is the Bachelorette Award certificate presented to Matilda Horvath for attracting the attention, mostly unwanted, of the local male population. So well done. Fantastic. All right, we've got to get moving. We're running out of time with this. I mean, we could spend like all day doing this and talking. But Luke, I wanted to chat to you about church on Sunday. So this was your first experience with a Ugandan church, and it was translated into Luganda. They sang in English, they sang in the local language, but this was your first experience being that. Tell everybody what that was like.
Well, first up, we only left the hotel when church started because that's apparently uncool if the pastor turns up before church has been going for an hour. So we rolled in and we could hear them going from the top end of the driveway, and they'd already been worshipping for an hour. And this is, I don't know, a room the size of the Dreamers room. There's about 8,500 people packed into it. And they've got ushers that it's like they're doing a rotation system. So you'll just see somebody come in and they'll go, you, out, and they'll bring somebody else in. And then you've just got to go and stand outside and listen to the music but not be able to see anything and just be part of it. But then they'd put the back row for us, so we're all standing up there, and it is hot. It's hot already just because of the climate, but then when you've got that many people thrown into a room that size, there was windows, they made no difference. And then, so we got there an hour into worship. About an hour later, it's still going, like proper worship, full going, everybody's going nuts. And then sometimes you think where you're doing this that it's actually becoming a presentation and that it's not necessarily worship to God. But then they got up there and they said, we've got the dance crew coming up and they've prepared a gift. And then it changes your mindset that it's not actually a presentation. It's not them trying to show off, or it's a gift that they're bringing to God, but that's also blessing you. So then we've had 2 hours of worship. Then we had a dance recital. Then we had the teenage youth dance recital. Then we had the kids come in and do a presentation. And then some other kids did another song. Then Horvey and Kim got up and sang another song. So I reckon about, I don't know, nearly 3 hours in, Andrew actually got up to preach. And by that time, it was actually lunchtime, so half of us didn't even hear the message because we were outside getting the food ready. But it's another level. It's like we're almost, okay, 20 minutes of worship's done, let's move on. Well, no, just stay in it. And already I was back here this morning telling Lisa to turn the aircon on because I was sweltering in here and forgetting 3 weeks ago where it was dripping.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I sat next to Luke in that service, and I saw him shaking the family tree very rigorously, and he found a few Ugandan genes in him. You should have seen him dancing and praising.
Yeah. It was awesome. I think there may be some video footage of that on our reels somewhere, so if you want to research, like Luke was busting a move. It was good. Actually, I'm going to get through a couple of these awards, and then we've got a couple of serious questions just to finish, because we are running out of time. I don't want to keep you guys forever. We did have a football match between Harvest Church and the Aringawello Primary School. I think they were fielding like 29-year-olds, but we lost 2-1, but for being injured in the line of duty in the Harvest versus Aringawello Primary School football match, the Ronaldo Award goes to Luke. Well done. All right. Okay, another serious one. Okay, because when you're on a team, you know, it's sometimes you've got team members that just do everything perfectly, that listen, that pay attention, that know the schedule, that know what to do, where to be, and the Team Champion Award goes to, for always listening, always being on time, and for all round being a true champion in heart and attitude, is Ruth Cloden. This one everyone's going to know on the team as soon as I say this. For being able to grab a nap anytime, any place, regardless of how many potholes, the Solid Snoozer Award goes to Andrew Horvat. All right. The International Roast Award for ongoing and relentless pursuit of excellence in coffee, no matter what is available to make it, goes to Leith Adams. Thank you, mate. I don't know how many different coffee machines you tried out while you were there, but there must have been a number of them.
Can I tell you about the stuff I did find? It's called Skull Crusher.
Yeah, that's...
Skull Crusher is 3 times stronger than your normal coffee. It's so strong that when you drink it, you can actually hear colours. And I made some for Russ, and he was pinging until he had it at 8 o'clock, and 3 o'clock he's still going.
And our final award, actually, there's 2 more awards here. I'm going to give the serious one first and then a humorous one to finish. The Mama Bear Award for consistently watching over and caring for team members goes to Lisa Horvath. And that's exactly who you are. Now, one person gets 2 awards here. And this award goes to the Crazy Cat Lady for always trying to take the local cats home in her luggage, goes to Matilda Horvat. There's a story to be answered there. So we want to sort of wrap this up with just in 2 minutes. I can't.
No, because we've got a quick
You got a
question for you.
Oh dear, I didn't know.
Okay, so this year's focus has been Send Me, I'll Go, and it's neighbours and nations. So we've done the nations. OU are nailing the neighbours component. What what do you think makes them so successful with reaching their immediate community? Because obviously they don't have the means to go to the nations, but they are impacting that community so much.
Yeah.
What do you think that we can take from that to impact this community?
I think it's already been said. It's the one. One person, one neighbour. I mean, let's just put this in context. In this room here, I don't even know how many people are in this room at the moment, but just if we all, everybody, in 1 year, brought one person, just 1 year, everybody in 1 year, one person. That's 365 days to pray for consistently, to chase after one person. What would the impact be on our church? But not just on our church, but on our community. Because momentum builds momentum, builds momentum. And then if you did that again, I think they've just tackled the one. And they've gone one mum at a time, one child at a time. And they're not trying to go out there and run a massive crusade to see thousands and thousands of people saved at a time. Those things are great, and they do. But this is actually genuine, on the ground, getting your hands dirty, discipleship. And they do that really well just because they care for the one person. I think, for me, that's probably something I'm going to not forget. There's so many things not to forget. So that's a good question. That was a bit deep. Can I?
Something just going off that, and I think we all kind of shared a little bit on it when we were doing our reflective videos, but something that they do really well is not meeting the physical need all the time. And don't get me wrong, like the dormitory in Abim, that's a really horrible situation, and we as a community can do something about it. But the Operation Uganda team does really well at recognising that the physical need doesn't change the spiritual need. And in the entire community, every time we went out and every time we, spoke to a mum or a young person or something, we recognised that it wasn't about us being Westerners with, a wealthy country and whatnot. It was actually us being able to impart our love of God to them and reflect Jesus in that. And I think that is more important in the discipleship process than, seeing a person on the street and, giving them a house. Something that's more valuable and more permanent is actually going, I want to show you the love of Jesus and I want you to understand your value in Jesus. I think that's something that we can probably take on too.
Before he gets the mic back, it's hit me sitting here to share. I think we forget to be grateful for what Christ has done for us. We're not so desperate for him that our very lives depend on it. We are, but we forget because we're comfortable. Douglas, who was part of the team that was with us and is the most amazing human being, he shared his story. Now, all of the OU team put back into their community with their entire lives. Like, they'd say to us, so what do you do at church? Or, what do you do? And you might go, I'm on worship or I'm on this, And they say, what else? What else? Because they do everything. They come in on their days off. They come in when they're not working, not just for the church, but the whole OU organisation, and the team are just amazing. Douglas shared that he was, I think he said 6 or 7 years old, and he was dropped off on the side of the road by his mum with his 2-year-old brother strapped to his back and left. That's his story. That's where he comes from. So when he's now 35 and finishing, I think, a bachelor's, master's. What the team put into their community is because of where they've come from. They don't forget. We've got to remember what God's done for us and remember in our communities that our neighbours and our work and the people that we come across, they are desperate. Their lives depend on it. Don't forget that our lives depended on it, what Christ did for us. Yeah.
I told you we should have just given the microphone to Lisa. That's the perfect way to finish. just one final question as we close, and then we're going to stand and we're going to do the blessing. We're going to do it together, I think. Who's going back? Just you and me. Who's going back?
I never left.
Awesome. All right.
Andrew, just come up here. Just on behalf of the team, mate. Thanks. You don't realise how good a bloke this bloke is. For those of you who aren't close to this man, you're a top bloke, mate. The only bloke that's in second place is Dougie. And your tour guide captain. It's funny because we were trying to get some of the local lingo from him, how do we say things, and one of the funniest things, I think it was Sam, was it you? Asked him how to say hello. He goes, hello. He was an absolute crack up, he was. Anyway, on a serious note, from all of us, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
All right, why don't we stand to our feet? We're going to say the blessing together, and that's a perfect way to close. What I want to inspire you and encourage you all to do is that the team are here. Come up to them after the service and ask them questions. There's more to the story than just this, and we don't want to leave this alone right and finish, we've been to Uganda, that's done. No, we're going back, and we're going to make even more of an impact. So can you please ply them with questions? Pump them for information. Say, what was this like? How did you do that? All right, let's stretch forward our hands and let's pray together. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. God bless you, Harvest Church. Thank you very much.